Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Autoimmune Association Summit. My name is Nia Zulfagari. I'm so excited to be here today. We have a really exciting conversation. We've been very eager for weeks to be talking about this topic, and I have a wonderful guest with me today. We'll be talking about simplifying autoimmune nutrition and cooking with Cristina Montoya. Hi, Cristina. How are you?
Oh, hi there. I'm great. And saying hi from Canada.
Oh, Canada. How's the weather?
It's changing. It's beautiful though. The leaves are changing. It's gorgeous. I can feel it.
It looks beautiful behind you. I can see all the greenery. That's amazing. And I see you're wearing green to match the weather and maybe the topic of our conversation today, which is exciting.
Mhm.
So, Cristina, why don't you give us a little bit of an intro about yourself and maybe how this topic, nutrition, inspired your career choice and maybe your personal experience with autoimmunity?
Oh yeah, so I'm Cristina Montoya. I'm the owner and founder of the Arthritis Dietitian. I love empowering women, adapting an anti-inflammatory lifestyle without unnecessary restrictions while supporting their gut health. But recently I'm getting a lot of men too to approach me. It's funny. I said I help women. It's like, do you help men too? And so that is happening lately. I have to say I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and Sjogren's disease about 20 years ago. And it was at the time, I was in Colombia, and it was a time when all the novel therapies were not available. So unfortunately, I did develop irreversible joint damage. And but I'm still here. I'm 42.
Amazing. Knock on wood.
So I cannot say that my diagnosis defined my career. At the beginning, I was actually ashamed. I didn't want people to know that I had arthritis because I was only 21. So I hid it, and I always been a dietitian. I always chose that path, but I work in different settings. I work as a clinical dietitian in hospitals and nursing homes. I work in research, government. Just in 2016, I started to think, hey, but there's so much like misinformation. That's when I started to kind of pour all this misinformation about nutrition and arthritis. And I started taking a little bit of interest about nutrition and autoimmune diseases, particularly in rheumatoid arthritis and Sjogren's.
Wow, that's incredible. I love hearing people's stories about how their challenges inspired their careers and brought them to kind of where they are now, where they can pay it forward. And my story is very, very similar as well. I was diagnosed with 2 different autoimmune diseases, and it also kickstarted my journey and interest in nutrition. So I love that you and I have that similar, which is always really humbling and inspiring to hear. So we're obviously in your kitchen right now, or I'm virtually in your kitchen.
Yes, you are.
You're physically in your kitchen. When it comes to nutrition and cooking and just preparing food, I know for me, when I go into my kitchen, I love to have just like a very inviting and inspiring space. I love having the counters really clean and clutter-free. I maybe have some like music playing depending on like what I'm in the mood to cook, maybe some flowers. What are some things that you love having in your kitchen? I can see it's very tidy, but what are some other things that you love to have?
So yeah, definitely. I like to keep it clean. Like, even if it's messy, I just can't. I can't put my mind on to cook. I had to tidy up, like clean it up, and also it's very important because I don't want to have any cross contamination. I don't want to get any illness from, from like foods itself, and sometimes I do eat gluten free. And so I want to make sure that my counters are clean and free of like flours, like, with regular wheat. So that to me is very important before I start cooking. I try to get things that I play music, of course. I'm Latina, and people know, my house know that when I play music, Christina's feeling well. Christina's in the kitchen. Like, don't bother her. That's her happy place. Okay.
I love it. What's been your playlist so far when you're in the kitchen? What's like the
I
favorite
don't
thing?
know. It really depends. Like, if it's around this time of year, no, I'll just play reggaeton. Like, if I really want to
Ooh,
feel
nice.
energized, it's gotta be reggaeton.
I love that. I think there's something really special too about just like setting that ambiance in your kitchen, like playing music that you really love, because then that love gets poured into the food that you're making as well too. And like that energy transfer, I think is really pivotal when it comes to like food preparing. So I don't know if you feel similar, but I definitely feel that when I'm in the
Oh,
kitchen.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When I definitely when I feel, very weak or fatigue,
Right.
it's just you just want to go. I'm just gonna open a can of tuna, maybe, right? With some crackers, and it's just want to get out of it. But
Yeah.
when I feel really in the mood, and I even
Mhm.
if I feel a little sore, just playing that music,
Mhm.
it brings you joy, and I think that's to me is the best way to meditate. I can't stand 10 minutes. I can't. I just
Yeah.
have to put music on.
Oh no, I hear that. I love, like, personally, I love music. I love walking for meditation. I like to just like you know what? Washing the dishes is actually very therapeutic for me too. I can just like play music and wash the dishes with my hands. Like I don't like the dishwasher for that reason, because there's something about like the water, the cleanliness, the movement of my hands that's also very meditative. So
I agree. Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. And sometimes the warm water, especially in the winter, and when
Oh,
you're like in a
yeah.
flare up, like it just feels very soothing.
There you go. See, the kitchen is already healing and you haven't even prepared anything yet. So I
You
love
know, true.
well, I think it would be helpful before we kind of get into like food choices and preparing for us to kind of discuss the process of food purchasing, like actually making those conscious choices when you are purchasing food. Can
Mhm.
you walk everybody through how to read a basic food nutrition label? I know you live in Canada, so the label maybe differs slightly from the one in US. I'm not sure, but we can maybe start with the US label here. This one, if anybody can tell just from the branding, this is a very popular cracker brand from Simple Mills. So this is the box, just photos of the box for the Simple Mills. So yeah, if you can walk us through, like if somebody's looking at this label and how do they read this? Where do they start? What do all these numbers and labels mean?
Okay, so what is very important actually between the US and and Canada, there's not a lot of difference into like the kind of the basic food label. They need to list at least the 13 ingredients that if we have the calories, the fat sources, cholesterol, sodium, total carbohydrates, and sometimes they break it down into fiber, total
Mhm.
sugars. Some of them actually add if they have alcohol, sugars, but that's additional. It's important to outline the protein and also the very important micronutrients, which is vitamin C, calcium, iron, and what is other? Phosphorus, I believe. Okay.
Potentially, yeah.
Anyway, so but I think that what was important about that is because initially there was a, nutritional deficiencies around those macronutrients, so
Mhm.
it was essential to fortify certain foods with that, especially cereals.
Mhm.
The difference between the Canadian and the US labels, which I realized, is that the calories are based on the 2,000 calories a person will consume. So the daily value, it will classify. Okay, so these product and this serving. So in this case, it's 17 crackers,
Yeah,
right?
17 crackers.
So
Mhm.
17 crackers is gonna give you 150 calories. It's gonna give you 10% of sodium, right? So that's like the daily value.
Mhm.
And so in Canada, we say that so less than 5% of a specific nutrient or ingredient is too little, and more than 15% is too much. In
Mm.
the US, is more than 20%, and I think that's where we kind of differ. And
Interesting.
so that 5% can be quite significant, right? Especially when we have to kind of look into the ingredients that we need to pay attention when it comes to autoimmune diseases. So, which is the saturated fats,
Mhm.
trans fats, added sugars. So, if let's say in the U.S. says, oh, it has more than 20% is okay. But I think I probably prefer the Canadian one. We're a little bit more
Yeah.
conservative.
I think I prefer it too.
Yes. So basically, that's so that's one part of the nutrition label. Then we have the ingredients list. And so that usually listed from the ingredient that is more abundant in the product and to the list, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes we get from an influencers like, don't get any food that there's like have all these ingredients that you can't even pronounce. And I
Right.
think that have to be very careful with that, because there are foods that I don't know, even if you spell out the whole thing, like FODMAPs, like oligosaccharides, and there's really long, it doesn't mean they're necessarily bad for you.
Right.
So when you have the guidance, right, so you have your registered dietitian or your nutritionist, they will help you guide you through that. And said, are all these ingredients really bad for me? Or are they a different number, a different name for a particular nutrient, like vitamin C? They're going to call it ascorbic acid. That doesn't make it bad, right?
Right.
Then the other part of the nutritional label you will see is the nutrient content claims. So then you might say, oh, this is like sugar-free, low fat. And again, that you also need to look into like what is acceptable in each country.
Right.
So for instance, in Canada, we're going to see protein, for instance. It's like, oh, good source of protein. Or contains like source of protein. But they will not accept a product if they label it, this is a high quality protein product. So that is not acceptable. So when they started like looking at those claims, you also have to be very careful as to what to believe or not.
Right, you're right. And understanding what those labels mean too. What are some like red flags, I guess, if you were to look at a label that would, something for especially somebody who has autoimmunity, if you're looking at a label to really pay attention to? I know we have another label to kind of look at that has that you showed me, and I'd never seen this before too. But I thought it was really important for us to kind of talk about this, especially for people who have autoimmunity, specifically celiac disease. What are some things to kind of pay attention to here?
So yeah, so this one is actually quite interesting. It happened in the summertime. It was a very popular product that was on Costco. People purchasing in Costco.
Yeah.
So I like to participate in like the Facebook group here, the Celiac Canada, and they posted about this. They said, "Whoa, what happened with Aussie bites?" So if you see it on the label, like right on the image, it tells you it's a USA organic. So okay, fine, great.
Right.
Then it tells you, oh, it's gluten free. And in the US, they also need to have like any gluten free product, they have to have less than 20 parts per million of gluten in a product in order to be safe for individuals with celiac disease. The same here in Canada. But for some reason, something happened with this product that a lot of people were having symptoms. So they contacted the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and they recalled the product because the product contained gluten that was not declared on the label. And sometimes it could be, maybe some of the red flags could be that it was produced in a facility that may contain wheat. It says if it says like it contains rolled oats, but it doesn't specifically say it contains gluten-free oats. So those could be like a red flag. Sometimes, depending on the labeling laws, they may say, "Oh, but as long if the product, let's say, like the company labels it as a gluten-free, and even if it says it was produced in a facility that produces wheat, but maybe they have a dedicated, area where they have it. So and they put the gluten-free label." But for some reasons, we find more like products from the US to have maybe some more issues related to declaring the total content of gluten. So one way to see is like you probably should know when you're gluten, like you know your symptoms. So you like from the moment you have gluten, like a few hours later, you're having like stomach upset, you're feeling this fatigue, like you just feel that you're being gluten.
Right? I love that.
So that's one, and that's one thing is it's okay to question foods that says gluten free, and you're still feeling like symptoms after consuming it. So then you contact the company, right? Or post it on the Facebook. That's what happens with this product. It was posted and the Celiac Association like kind of worked into it and found out that it wasn't declared.
Wow. See, so this teaches us don't trust just the front of the label, the front of the packaging, rather, where it says gluten-free. Like turn it over or flip it under, read the ingredients. Because, yeah, I can see the arrow here where it says produced in a facility that may contain wheat, but the front of the label says gluten-free. Those are contradicting each other. So that's a good safety for people to really pay attention to. I feel like that even happens with like sugar-free. You'll see the sugar-free planted on top of a label, but then you turn it over and the sugar source is not necessarily like a good source of sugar, or it's just a different type of simple sugar that necessarily is not sugar-free. So it's really important to kind of look at both. I know that makes shopping a little bit lengthier, but it's definitely like the safest way, I think, to go about it if you are going to purchase foods in the center of the grocery store. So
yeah, that's sorry, that's good. I actually wanted to give you another example. I have it in my fridge. Oh,
okay.
but then I don't know if I can grab it.
Go for it. Go get it.
Okay.
This gives us a chance to look at your beautiful kitchen while you go grab it. It really is so calming and pretty, and I love all the green.
All the green.
All the green. Oh gosh, is that bread?
This is bread.
Okay.
So this is a gluten-free bread.
Okay.
And so it is even keto certified. I don't really go for that, but those are labels that are voluntary, right? So those are maybe could be for marketing purposes. I personally like this bread because it actually tastes good. It's not like cardboard type of gluten-free bread. And so it has like 40 calories, 15 grams of fiber. That's pretty good. And where did that the fiber comes from is like psyllium, which is like really great. But then here's the thing: it also has like pea protein and faba bean protein and inulin. And I'm not saying they're bad ingredients, but if someone, aside from having celiac disease or non-celiac gluten sensitivity, also have irritable bowel syndrome symptoms, and they have intolerance to these like high FODMAPs or fermentable carbohydrates, then you may think, oh, but like I'm eating gluten-free still doesn't work, right? I'm still having symptoms. So that means that not all gluten-free products are like low FODMAP, and not all low FODMAP products are gluten-free.
Exactly. Oh, it's complicated, but it's also not that complicated. Like it's complicated in the sense that you have to kind of like fact check a little bit of everything. But it's not complicated when it's explained in this way, because you explaining it, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. You just have to read the labels a little bit more closely. So yeah, thank you for bringing that one up. Well, now that we know how to read a label, and we have a little gift for everybody at the end of this, I'll mention it. But now that we have a better understanding of all the terms, let's go back to your kitchen. Can you walk us through some like quick food prep tips? And I know you mentioned to me when we had a conversation last time that you have some like cool gadgets and tools that you use when you're in the kitchen. So can you tell us what some of those are?
Yeah, so I found a few gadgets. Let's start with the gadgets because I actually, over the years, like I've been like 20 years with arthritis, and then I try not to go crazy to get every single gadget that is like $90, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, I have my essentials. So my essentials is like the nut slip, right?
Wow, yeah.
This one is like just to kind of help you like grip. So I love that. And I mentioned to you, like the exercise bands also have the same texture. So if you don't
open a can, or a bottle, I know that was such a good tip. I use it actually. I used it last week and it worked.
Right?
Yeah.
Some of the things I definitely probably one of my favorites like gadgets, and like there are more than this, but like the electric can opener, and this one has a few more tricks there. Like I highlight to kind of help you open the the bottles. And I actually found out that it was approved at the Arthritis Society here in Canada. So it's one product. Like, it was kind of arthritis friendly. So it's one neat. It was a Canadian Tire. Not that I'm sponsoring, but just found that it was kind of interesting.
We're all moving to Canada.
We're not sponsoring here or anything. I always maybe kind of use it versatile. So this is like mashed potatoes, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I use it to mash bananas. Sometimes you will feel, instead of, using the fork, it might be easier just to, when you're making your banana bread, it might be easier on your joints. Whenever I go to Dollarama, honestly, if I see something that I see that is easier to grab instead of
Oh,
using
okay.
traditional things, you see.
Oh, yeah. Your thumb can rest in there. Oh, that's great.
So it's like very neat, and I don't know. I haven't seen them, but like when I see them, I grab them.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's useful.
This one was that I've never seen it again. I know I bought it like 10 years ago, and it's just so useful, like to open, like maybe water bottles or something like that. So you just kind of
Oh,
flip it. And
that's
if you have can opener, like I mean, like have pops or those, so you
right.
just can kind of you see this little.
That. No more broken nails.
Nope. Or sometimes you have like you seal what is the lunch containers, the ones that you seal
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
inside, right? So this one actually helps me to kind of flip them up.
Oh, smart. No, those things are sometimes so hard to open because the vacuum seal is so strong.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so one day I was like, okay, how do I open this? I couldn't eat at my lunch at the office. It's
Oh
like,
my gosh.
and I was like, oh, well, I had to find someone to open it. I was like, but it's kind of embarrassing, right? And so then I figure, okay, this can help me with that, right? So,
Perfect.
so just I don't know, just make some little things and just the
Yeah.
typical, that wants to open your cans.
Oh, I love
With
that.
the cans, I don't eat pizza. I personally don't like pizza that much.
Okay.
However, I use this a lot too. I cut the bread for my boy in the morning. So
Oh,
I find it
okay.
like quite easier, like to just kind of slice or whatever that needs to slicing. I just do it. I just use the pizza cutter. So yeah, so these are kind of my a few of my. And always like when it comes to I know they're more like kind of nice, like friendly user, but I just love this one. And I think as long as they have enough grip for you
Right.
and enough support, that's what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So those are a few of mine.
I love that. I love that. Those are great. And I learned like a few more that I've never seen before. So those are good tips. What are some like food prep tips that you would recommend for somebody to just make cooking a little bit easier?
It all depends. Actually forgot to mention that like today, if I'm feeling really tired, just push. Don't be afraid to push a seat, right? And
Right.
make yourself comfortable. I think that's
Mhm.
important. But when it comes to like food prep, I think what is very important, even before getting into that, is to look at your kitchen, do an inventory, and see. Start your grocery shopping in the kitchen. See what is
Mm,
in your pantry, what is in your freezer, and then based on that, okay, pick up your recipes. What do you want? What do you feel like making for this week? And I think that really helps you planning.
yeah.
You may not be able to like you don't have to make like different meals for every single meal and every
Mhm.
single day, so I think that's very important. So one example, sometimes when I feel okay, this is the way that I'm gonna eat eggs, so I'm eating eggs, so I get like boiled eggs. And that boiled eggs, I will turn them into egg salads. I'll turn it into a snack when I go, or I'll slice it and put it into salads as well,
Mhm.
right? So this is yeah, and then just with those boiled eggs, you probably have something to eat for
Right.
1 week, right?
Right.
Another thing that I like to do, I'm not the kind of person who likes to like pre kind of serve. Like I don't like to prepare like all these different.
Sure.
No, I feel I get tired. Like if I see the same food every single day, I don't know. I feel motivated to eat. So I batch cook is like per ingredient. So I will
Okay.
batch like cooking like rice or batch cooking quinoa,
Mhm.
and I have roasted vegetables. So maybe some roasted potatoes or roasted
Mhm.
sweet potatoes, and then then we have I have like salads or some green leaves, and then I kind of prepare and match in there whatever I feel
Right.
like it. If I have my beans, I'm Colombian Latina, I will always have beans in my pantry. So since it's all kind of batch, and then those beans can be tacos, can be eaten in like bowls with a rice bowls, and
Mhm.
so like vegetables. So I prefer to like batch cooking like per ingredients, not
Yeah.
like per meal. It makes me very anxious.
Yes. I'm the same way, actually. I love to also have cook ingredients, and I like having like the variety, and I also like feeling a little bit inspired when I open the fridge. So it's like not the same thing. Like, oh, another one of these meals. I had this 3 days in a row now. Versus having the ingredients kind of all laid out, and I'm like, ooh, do I want a salad? Do I want a bowl? Do I want a sandwich? Do I want,
Yes.
something new? But I can take everything and just make something new.
Thank you. I wasn't the only one because I was thinking like when you see all those beautiful meal preps and look
And
what
I
I have
love
for the
that.
week, and I'm like, I'm just getting tired.
I know, and I love that. And if that works for you to have everything kind of laid out, because I know I have a few clients that are very busy workers, or they're moms with a full-time job, and they don't have time to like sit and think of something to make. It's just easier to grab something, reheat it, or grab it and eat it out of the container. That's great. Do that. Personally, I like to just have a little bit more flexibility, but ask me in a year and I might change my mind. I don't know.
You know, it's true. Everything changes. For me, I think the one meal that I do like to have like packed is the breakfast.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's just the one that I said, like, you know, I'm gonna be in a rush. And for me, breakfast, like, you know, we have a saying in Colombia, it's like you eat like a kid, right? You breakfast like a kid, you eat breakfast like a kid, and lunch is as a, what is it? Is it novel? And then like dinner as a supper. So basically you're gonna have the main meal at breakfast because that's where you use the most of your energy.
Right.
Right. Another big reason for you to eat breakfast, and because I love like talking about gut health, is that it will help you stimulate your gut and kind of get your bowels ready, get your bowels moving, because it's so uncomfortable when you just go on your day and you're having that, oh my God, I have to go, right? And you couldn't. So breakfast, it really helps you to kind of help you push everything down before you even start your day.
Right.
So it's not just about like give you all the knowledge and energy, but also help you with your gut health.
Exactly. So do not skip breakfast, everyone listening. Do not skip breakfast. It really is the most important meal of the day. I don't know who said that. I don't know who coined that phrase, but there's a lot of truth behind it. So thank you for mentioning that.
Definitely.
All right, well, we're going to switch gears a little bit. You and I did talk a little bit about this before we got onto this call, and we did both agree that food prices, especially in this past year, have gone up dramatically. I'm sure you've noticed it in Canada as well, too. I personally am earning my master's in public health, and one of the biggest challenges that comes up in conversation a lot is the topic of food access and prices and accessibility. So you kind of talked a little bit about like grocery shopping in your kitchen before you actually go to the store. So what are some other tips or like pieces of advice that you can give to the people that are listening on how to stay really like mindful and conscious about making the best possible food choices as prices are kind of continuing to rise too?
Yeah, it is. It is very frustrating and sad to see that. In Canada, like more than the increase of 50% of people like using more food banks.
Oof.
I can't even say it. And sometimes I actually feel bad. It's like, you know, you donate your mac and cheese to the food banks, and I feel like, oh my God, so I'm just giving this like, you know, poor quality food to people who actually are relying on that. So so I feel like first of all, like you want to check on your deals, right? First of all, you want to see what's on sale and compare. So here we have this app like Flip, and it helps us like compare, and it also go like a price match. And sometimes you imagine it could be like $2 or $3 per like 1 pound of strawberries. Like, why is it the difference? It's like the same neighborhood.
Right.
So I think just checking that before going to grocery store is very important, just to see what you can price match as well. Take that time. Then definitely, I think we talked about it, like going around, you know, the perimeter of the grocery store is where all the fresh food starts. And yes, it is. You find all the fresh foods, but in the aisle, the inner aisles, what we're gonna find all the legumes. This is one of my favorites actually because it cooks so easy. So old now. My bottle is just getting like old. But this one, so you will find the whole grains, the dried legumes, all the like, you know, rice and quinoa in the inner aisles. And you're also gonna find all the canned, of course, beans. I have all types of beans.
Oh yes.
you're also going to find them in there, and sometimes you also see them on sale. So I
Mhm.
think that's very important to also favor what is like plant foods. Plant foods
Mhm.
overall tend to be cheaper than animal products. Not that I'm telling you not eat animal products. It's like for the budget, it actually works better.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely. No, I think it's important that you mentioned too, like look inside the middle of the stores too, because those pantry items, they're shelf stable, right? Like those beans, they're dry, so they'll last you. I mean, that container, that will last you at least, I don't know how often you how often you eat it every day, but it'll last you some time. Rice, even like those big bags of rice, that'll last you like, substantial amount of time, and you're getting a good complex protein or complex carb, and you're getting a good source of protein with the beans. So that already is a great option. So those are wonderful. I love that. Um, well, I know that we're running a little bit close on time, but we had some FAQs from the audience that I thought we could kind of just do some like rapid fire questions the last few minutes, maybe just like two big questions. Do you want to talk a little bit about anti-inflammatory? I know you and I did talk about this a little bit offline. What are your thoughts on like foods that are noted as inflammatory, and what do you think somebody with autoimmune disease should pay closer attention to when it comes to inflammatory foods?
I just want to set the record straight. To be honest, there's not an anti-inflammatory diet per se. And this is just something that started like kind of appearing all of a sudden because of more awareness around autoimmune diseases,
Mhm.
around inflammation. So there was like an index. They did a study when they tested a few foods and ingredients. They showed that there was a few ingredients that tend to maybe show more anti-inflammatory properties. So they show like selenium. It actually foods and micronutrients. So it was a mix of everything. So they
Okay.
have omega-3s, they have selenium, they have like some protein, turmeric, ginger. So from that, it stemmed all this wave of anti-inflammatory diet. But then in essence, it's not as concrete as you want to go and see like what is that, like a Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet, then you know it's a very kind of well established
Exactly.
dietary pattern. And overall, when it comes to autoimmune diseases, that will be the anti-inflammatory way or dietary pattern of
Mhm.
preference when it comes to from researchers. So I would say be very wary when it comes to anti-inflammatory diets, especially if they're asking you to restrict a long list of foods, especially if they come like from plant foods that you know, okay, so that's fiber. Like think of fiber, you're feeding your gut microbiome. How is that going to be bad for you, right?
Right.
Unless you have a medical condition that may require some restrictions. So
Mhm.
it's like kind of use your critical thinking. And in like you said, the food prices are where the roof. What if you can't even find those ingredients? And is it really going to make a difference? There's not a single like control study telling you if you eat this amount of ginger, it's going to cure your rheumatoid arthritis. It
Right.
just blows my mind.
I
So,
know. I know. It can be so black and white, and I think that can be really harmful because at the end of the day, it's very bio-individual.
mhm.
And like you said, you could have some kind of inflammatory reaction to ginger, and I do not. Does that mean it's an inflammatory food? For you, it might, but for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that. So it is very specific as to like which food is actually causing you like a resurgence of your symptoms or just making you feel a little bit less than your normal. So it is important to kind of pay attention to like what are those specific things that are impacting you.
Mhm.
Just being mindful of like your consumption of it. So thank you for setting the record straight on that.
Yeah.
Well, I know we can talk about this whole topic for ages and for hours, and I wish we had the time to do that, but thank you so much for helping to keep this really concise and, dare I say, digestible for our audience. Are there any final words that you would like to share before we wrap up?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. And then just remember, start adding foods, not like taking away foods. I think that's what we need to focus on and adding more variety. Remember, 30 plant foods a week
Mm.
for gut health.
Amazing. I love that. Divided by 7, easy, done. You
No.
can do it. All right. Well, for those of you that are watching this, we do have a special gift for you. So here in this session, you'll find an option to download a PDF. It's a free guide on how to read nutrition and food labels. So it goes into a little bit more detail than we had the time to kind of go through today. So be sure to download that, maybe teach your family all the new things you learn about food labels and nutrition guides. And it also goes without saying that if you have any questions about anything related to this topic, please feel free to reach out to myself or Christina. My Instagram handle is @unspokennutrition. And you can also email me, niaz@unspokennutrition.com. Christina, do you want to share your contact information?
Well, I'm everywhere as arthritis dietitian. Remember with double T, because I'm in Canada, not the US.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Nice. Look at that. I've learned so much about Canada. Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
That's great. Bye-bye.